Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be reviewing the Dura-Ace PD-R9100 bike pedal. Shimano's Dura-Ace pedals are one of their lightest and most advanced road cycling pedals that the brand currently offers. The Dura-Ace PD-R9100 are the latest iteration of the pedals, and they match the same Dura-Ace group set with a black finish and similar graphical treatment. As far as packaging, you can see a nice glossy black box. You have the sleeve that exposes the Dura-Ace in the center, which is a cool design. And then if you drag this out, you can see you have a nice cardboard box on the inside that slides out and has everything nicely separated. So as far as specs, retail price on this is $280. It's their most expensive and lightest pedals. They have a carbon composite body, which lets them be a little bit lighter than all the other offerings. You have an extra wide platform, so it's 65 millimeters wide. So very comfortable and stable. And then you also have the SM-SH12 blue cleats, which are exclusively offered with these, that have a 2-degree float and the pivot points at the top rather than the center to give you a little more security while still giving you a little bit of float. These are also available with a 4mm extension, so if you want a wider pedal, they have that option that extends the axle. Otherwise, they have a really narrow Q factor and a low stack height for optimal performance. As far as what comes with them, obviously you get the 2 pedals. You have to remember which side is which just based on the rear, and remember they're reverse threaded depending on the side. We have the blue cleats, and visually they look like just the other cleats, but they do have a different design which allows them to pivot on the front rather than center with 2 degrees of float. All the hardware is included, and you can see even these are nice and lightweight. And then you have the big safety manual and instructions here as well. Now let's take a look at the weight of the pedals. So if you put both of them on here, you can see the pedals alone are 237, which is actually a little bit under the claimed 240 grams. Visually, the PD-9100 has Shimano's classic wide SPD profile with a 65mm wide design and a carbon composite body to reduce the weight for this Dura-Ace version. You can see they've really gone ahead and milled all the excess pieces out, so super lightweight, and you save a couple grams over the 105 and Ultegra versions. It is a carbon composite, but with a very subtle design, so if you look closely, you can see there's a little bit of a texture to it. You have basic branding, Dura-Ace on the back in the metallic finish, and then Shimano on the underside, but otherwise pretty subtle design. It's only offered in this black finish, which should pair well with the current Dura-Ace group sets, but doesn't have any color options or anything else. You do have a longer axle version. You can see this has a pretty narrow Q factor, which is the distance from the attachment point to the center. They have a 4mm wider variation if you prefer something wider. So if you have a wider stance, you can purchase out with this set of pedals. Shimano doesn't publish all the numbers for this, but you can see it has a low stack height. So that's the height between the center of the axle and the top. And you want that to be as small as possible to maximize your pedaling efficiency. And then the Q factor, again, the distance from the mounting point to the center, is also quite narrow and compact. And they've done this with the axle design. It's a stainless steel axle, and you can see it has this big outboard bearing, and then it has a total of 3 different sets of bearings on the inside. So you have the one outside and then 2 additional ones in the interior, and that helps this be really narrow while still having a very smooth operation. And the great thing about Shimano is everything is serviceable. You don't need any special tools, you just need basic spanners to open up these outer bolts and then pull this out and re-grease it, and you can even replace the bearings on the inside. So really nice design and serviceable. As far as the tension adjustment, you can see standard spring design here on the backside with this adjustable tension. So it has little indicators for plus and minus, and then the little window here. So same design as all the other pedals, and you can see it's either loose or all the way hard. You can see they come from the factory all the way on the looser setting, and then you can tighten it up to whatever you prefer. We recommend going with the lighter setting until you've ridden with it at least once or twice, because you don't want to get stuck. If you make it too hard, the tension will be very hard. As far as the cleats, they come with these special cleats as well. These are their blue cleats, which have 2 degrees of float, and what's interesting here is the float is from the top rather than being on the center like the other cleats that come with the pedals. So it's not the yellow cleats or the red cleats I have that are fully fixed. With this one it is 2 degrees, so should have some adjustment here. And you can see otherwise they visually look identical. The big difference is just how the surfaces are milled. So there's very subtle differences on the cutouts here. And then the extra material here, which gives you a little bit more walkability. So you can see there's actually this little TPU blue material that rises up. And this is what lets you walk a lot easier, and it's nearly flat. So a nice setup, and with the wide platform, it's also easier to walk with. Now let's take a look at the pedals installed on our Trek Amande ALR. One of the coolest features about this is once you put them on the bike, you can see how every time you clip out, it actually tilts backwards. So it's weighted in such a way that the rear spring is always downward and then the front is tilted upward, and that's a perfect position. Makes it really easy to clip in as you just slide your foot forward, catches on the front, and then you push downward. So it's a nice subtle feature that makes it a lot easier than other pedals, which can tend to be flipped around and you really have to tilt around and look downward to see what orientation it is. Otherwise, the pedal is super easy to install, just an 8mm bolt on the inside, and they tighten in the direction that you pedal, so you do have to remember that. One side is righty-tighty and the other side is righty-loosey, and it's easy to remember if you just look at which direction the pedal stroke is. Otherwise, the pedals have nice smooth operation as you expect. Nice thin construction and a wide platform that Shimano's known for, so it really feels nice and secure, no pressure points. And with the blue cleats, they have that hollow pins and they have that different float, so it floats from the front rather than the middle, so you still have a little bit tilt back and forth. So you're comfortable, you're not locked in there like a zero float cleat, but slightly different feel than the standard cleat. But overall, really impressed, and obviously these are higher end pedals that should last a long time and are easily serviceable as well. Now let's compare the Dura-Ace pedals with other pedals on the market. As you can see here, we have quite a variety of other pedals to compare this to. We have the Shimano 105, and you can see at first glance they're very similar. Same cutouts, and the big difference here is just weight. This has replaceable wear plates rather than the built-in ones. And you can see the cutouts here are a lot smaller on the 105, so bigger body, heavier, and you can definitely feel it when you put them side by side. You can see the axle design is also different. They're both the steel axle, but definitely different design. You don't have the big outboard bearing. And the Dura-Ace has more bearing, so it should be smoother, longer than the 105 would be. But obviously it costs quite a bit more, and you're paying for that additional weight and that 10% better performance. At the high end, we also have the Look Keo Carbon. So it's a really cool design. It's a Look design, so 3-bolt design, but the cleat's a little bit different. It has a carbon blade here instead of the spring. So it's kind of a cool variation of the standard spring design, and you have to swap out the blade if you want a different tension. It's not adjustable. You can see similar concepts with the bearings though. Big outboard bearing and the more narrow stack height, while the Dura-Ace looks a lot thinner than the Look blade. We also have the Xpedo Sonic, so this is their SPD compatible one. Very similar designs, SPD-SL cleats as well. Same wide platform, and you can see the big difference here is the axle. This is titanium, so it costs a little bit more, but it's lighter. And you don't have that big outboard bearing. It's more integrated in here. And it's just a different variation. Obviously, you want super light, there's more options than Shimano, but the great thing about Shimano is it's serviceable, and just about any shop has the parts. Now let's go over the pros and cons for the Dura-Ace pedals. What we like about them is they have a nice lightweight design with a wide platform which maximizes your performance, so it feels really stable and gives you the lightest pedal that Shimano makes. They've also weighted it in such a way that you also have the optimal clipped-in angle as it tilts up, so very easy to slide your foot in and lock in without having to look down or flip the pedals around. The main negative here is the fact there are lighter pedals on the market, so if you're really a weight weenie, there are other options like Xpedo on the market. Also, you really have marginal gains versus the other Shimano pedals. Having reviewed the 105 and having that on our other bike, it's hard to tell much difference, so unless you're really a high performance person and really want to optimize everything, I believe any of the Shimano pedals will give you pretty much 90% of the same performance and the same serviceability. And everything to account would give the pedals a 9.2 out of 10. These are premium clipless pedals that give you the best features that Shimano offers. Thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can see more content from us on our website at thesweetcyclist.com, as well as follow us on Instagram at thesweetcyclist. This is the Sweet Cyclist reminding you to enjoy the ride.